Hello and welcome back to my Sims 4 One Direction speed build series. This house is a Niall Horan inspired house, and it's smaller, probably the second smallest home of this series. Just because Niall, to me, is a member in the band who he seems pretty grounded, and he seems like he's not like a needy celebrity. He's not the type who seems like he'd want to live in this huge, gigantic home. He's more of kind of a down-to-earth guy, and he's very much a perfectionist in terms of how he keeps his home and how he keeps his things. I've actually seen the most pictures of the inside of Niall's home than of any member in One Direction, because Niall frequently likes to share pictures of his living room on Instagram and on Twitter, mostly because he's watching something on his TV that he really likes, and so he's sharing it. So I did do one room in this home that's actually inspired by his real living room, and basically it's just this room with huge couch, a huge TV, a fireplace, and just shelves filled with memorabilia. So the living room in this home I did to that style. But other than that, this is just kind of based on my own interpretation of what Niall is like. I was going to do like a typical Irish cottage, but I couldn't really find any images on Google Image that like really stood out to me as a home that I wanted to build. The one thing that I really noticed about a lot of the Irish cottages that I Googled was that their exterior has pretty much like a white stucco, and then sometimes there's like a rock accent. So that's the theme I went with for the exterior of this home. And then other than that, I pretty much went with like a kind of the type of home that you'd find in like a gated country club community. Niall is a huge golf fan, so I thought it would be kind of representative of him a little bit to build a home that would fit in with like a golfing community. So that was really the inspiration for this house. And I struggled a ton, as you can see now, with the roofing for this house. I'm still not great at roofing. I'm still kind of working on it, and I had like an idea in mind of the style that I wanted to do for the roof of the home, and then that didn't work at all. So then I was just kind of winging it, and I'm not good enough at roofs in this game to really like wing it the way I did. So yeah, I had some problems with the roofing, which you're currently seeing, and I deleted some footage of the roofing struggles just because I went with one look, and then totally trashed the idea and abandoned it. So I felt like I didn't really need to include footage of something that I ended up getting rid of pretty quickly. By the time you're seeing all of this, this is after I had already trashed that footage. So yeah, I got rid of that, but otherwise, I pretty much kept most of the footage of the building process for this house. It didn't take me quite as long to build as the other homes in this series. Um, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm getting better at building things quicker, or maybe it's because the house wasn't as big and as complicated. I don't know. But I still separated the build into two videos just to kind of keep them on the shorter side. So this video is just the building of the home, and then the next video will be the furnishing of the home. And I think I really had most of the personalization of the home. Like, most of what makes this house a Nile house is in the furnishing of the home. So that'll be the next video. I'm not gonna give like an estimated day for when that will go up, because I tried to do that with the Harry speed build that I did last time, and Uh, then, I had a family member get really sick, and I ended up being like a week late on that video, and I felt really bad about it the whole time. So I think this time I'm just not gonna give like an estimated date. Um, I am hoping that it'll be up soon, and I'm definitely hoping that it'll be up in less than a week, but we'll see. Work is a little bit busy right now, and as I mentioned, I have a family member who's pretty sick. She's luckily out of the hospital now and in rehab, but she's still just pretty weak and not quite back to herself yet. So it's been a pretty stressful time for my family. But yeah, anyway, this house, the layout of the bedrooms was tricky. I was trying to put up that, like, the siding that you can use on the tall, like the tall wall height, and while I was doing it, I forgot that the tall wall height ones, those go based off the rooms on the floor where you're actually placing the siding, whereas the smaller siding, the one that I just the one that I just used there, that goes based off of like a floor that you place on the level above. So I got that confused and couldn't figure out why the siding in the front wasn't working the way that I wanted it to, um, and had some problems with that. But I figured it out and I worked it out, and you can kind of see the house taking shape here. Um, I did like the way that like the decoration of the rooms came out, but I didn't really like the way that the layout was done. There's a really odd-shaped room, which could be a bedroom, but I turned it into Niall's gym, and it's just like really small and narrow, and I'm not like a huge fan of the size of the room. Um, but it fits with the exterior that I built. And like originally I had a different plan for which room I would put in that area, which is why it kind of turned out weird. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll mention it when I get to that part of the video again. The other thing that I wanted to put into this house is something that I think is pretty common in homes in the UK, which is basically like a sun porch, which I believe they call a conservatory. I don't know if I have any British viewers. But if I do, and you want to let me know in the comments below if that room is indeed called a conservatory commonly, or like what you guys call it, let me know. But yeah, it's basically this room. I normally see it in the back of the house, like off the kitchen, where it's basically like in America what we would call a sun porch, where it's surrounded by windows and it's just kind of like an extra, either like a seating area or a dining area. And I really wanted to give Niall one of those, so I gave him one off his back deck, and um, yeah, it turned out really cool. Like I don't know, I like the feeling of that type of room, and I think if I could have a room like that in my real house, like that would be really exciting. I think I'd love it. Like I would just sit in there and like write or play games or I don't know. It's a really cool style of room, I think. Um, but yeah, I was just trying to figure out kind of like the final touches in terms of exterior decoration. Um, I have been using like different styles of windows in houses. Instead of using like a uniform window, I use like a bunch of different types of them. And um, I don't know, like I think it's kind of another way where you can add some decoration and just personalization to the exterior of a home. So I think about windows when I'm building both in terms of how much light they'll let into a room and how bright the room is, but also like in terms of how they make the exterior look. So yeah, and I was just playing around with the roofing still because I just don't 100% like the way the roofing came out. Um, but at a certain point, you kind of have to let it go. So that's kind of what I did with this home. I basically like gave up on the roof and was just like, all right, like this is good enough. It doesn't look awful. And it kind of has the look that I was going for. So yeah. Um, but then I tried to like build some ivy because I don't have Get Together yet. I'm waiting until it goes on sale because I refuse to spend $40 on an expansion pack, especially since I don't really have $40 to be spending on an expansion pack. Like, we should be spending that on like groceries or gas and I don't know, like adult stuff, which is not fun, but whatever. But yeah, I don't have Get Together yet, so I did want to kind of create like an ivy wall for him, and so I tried to do it with the like window box, but it just didn't really look good, so I got rid of it. And then you see me here, I'm building an attached, kind of like a home pub. Niall is I don't know that I would say he's a big drinker in terms of like he drinks too much. He might, I don't really know, but like Niall is a man who appreciates a good drink. And he's just like a very proud Irishman, and I feel like what would an Irish guy like better in his house than to have his own personal pub? So I built a pub for Niall that's like attached. To the house, kind of more like a man cave than a pub. But I tried to decorate it like a pub, and it turned out pretty fun. Um, I did eventually rotate the pub, so it's now on a diagonal, but I did that off camera, so you're not going to see it in this video, but when I did recreate it, I did it the exact same way that I did it when it wasn't on a diagonal here in this video. So you didn't miss much, you just missed me rebuilding the entire thing just on a diagonal, which in The Sims 4, building on a diagonal is actually pretty tough and annoying. So there was a lot of frustration at times and a lot of like putting together floor pieces. It's almost like putting together a puzzle when you build something on a diagonal. But yeah, that I didn't include the footage of that. I was trying to do like a cone-shaped roof for the pub, but in the end, I just didn't really like the way it looked. So I decided to build a mansard roof, which is what I'm starting here, which is when you have a roof go up, and the top of the roof is flat, and it has like some fencing around it. And I'd never built one in this game before, so I didn't 100% know how to do it. So there was a little bit of trial and error, and basically what I learned is you have to build it so that it's a perfect square. Like all parts of the walls have to be, or the roof sections have to be an equal distance. Like the roofing here is 2 squares wide, and so you can't have a section where like it's 1 square. It has to be the same distance from the wall, all the way around. So I learned that when I was building it. I guess it doesn't have to be a perfect square. Like it could be like 2 by 3 or something, as long as the distance of like the walls and the roof is equal, if that makes sense. I don't know, it probably makes more sense just to like watch what I did. But then like I wasn't completely happy with the mansard roof like alone. I just felt like it needed some decoration, so I added those gables. I don't remember if I kept them when I rebuilt it on a diagonal. We'll have to see in the next video. But yeah, that was pretty much like all that went into building Niall's little pub thing. Um, and then it was pretty much just finishing touches for the house. And then I started to move on to the landscaping. And one of the things that I wanted to incorporate into this house was I wanted to make it like feel like it was a celebration of all things Irish. Um, and so the way that I did that was by making as many things green, white, and orange as possible, because Those are the colors of the Irish flag. I actually ended up painting some wall sections in the house green, white, and orange to look like an Irish flag, and that turned out pretty cool, especially in the kitchen, I think. You'll see that in the next video, but so for the landscaping, I also went with like a green, white, and orange theme. I didn't really keep it for the windows. The windows have blue accents, but that's because they don't have windows that I liked for this house that have like a green trim, and they don't have any windows really that have an orange trim. So there wasn't much I could do in terms of windows, but the landscaping I did all in green, white, and orange. Um, so I used the plants that I always end up using in every house, which is that like grass type bush thing. And that's like a great way to just like take up space and make it look like plants are like growing, and like it's kind of like an overgrown look, but not too overgrown, if like that makes sense. But yeah, then I went with those like green, I think they're called like shagalicious or something, shrubs. And then I started outlining the flower beds with rocks. And normally I only like include a few rocks just in places where the landscaping looks a little bit empty. But because Niall is a bit of a perfectionist and he likes everything to be like just so, um, I did pretty much line the entire thing with rocks. So the border is a lot, like, I don't know, it's a lot more filled in than I normally do in my builds. The one exception was that little like flower bed in front, or no, I think I might have put more. No, I didn't put more rocks in. Then I was gonna make like like gated entrance to the driveway, but when I tried to do it, I had this problem that I always run into with gates, and I don't know why, where, like, as you see right there with the fencing, when I put the gates in, the fencing disappears, and then if I try and drag it back and just redo it, it won't show up. Um, I'm not really sure why that happens. I think it might have something to do with because my fencing isn't completely like connected, like it doesn't meet in the middle. But I'm not really sure. I don't know 100% why that happens, so don't take my word on that. Um, but yeah, and then I had to fix the flower beds that are by the pub, because when I did move it onto the diagonal, those flower beds obviously like weren't in the right place. So yeah, that's the house so far, and hopefully I will have the next video up soon. But I hope you enjoyed. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more like these.